The ultimatum. The crystalline halls of the intergalactic assembly sparkled with the light of 1,000 artificial stars. Ambassador Keiko Nakamura straightened her diplomatic uniform as she entered the grand chamber. Around her, representatives from 200 civilizations murmured in various languages, their translators working overtime. At the center of the room stood Jektar High Commander Vorthan, his 6-meter frame towering over the assembly. "The time has come," Vorthan's voice boomed through the chamber, "for the Jektar Empire to claim what is rightfully ours. The Sol system sits at a critical junction of our expanding territories. We have been patient, but humanity's refusal to submit to our authority leaves us no choice." Keiko pressed a button on her wrist communicator. The holographic display before her flickered to life, showing Earth and its colonies. She had prepared for this moment for 5 years, ever since humanity first made contact with the galactic community. The other species had dismissed them as barely space-faring primitives. Today, that perception would change. The Assembly's presiding elder, a crystalline being called Silvar, raised a translucent appendage. "Ambassador Nakamura, the Jektar Empire has existed for 10,000 years. Your species discovered faster than light travel merely 2 decades ago. Perhaps it would be wise to consider their generous offer of protected status." Keiko smiled politely. "High Elder Silvar, we appreciate the Assembly's concern. However, humanity declines the Jektar's offer. Furthermore, we must inform this distinguished body that any attempt to forcibly annex the Sol system will be met with significant resistance." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Even some of the more sympathetic species seemed amused by humanity's apparent bravado. The Jektar delegation's scaled faces twisted into what passed for sneers among their kind. Resistance. Vorthan's secondary vocal sacs inflated with amusement. "Your entire fleet consists of 40 vessels. We command thousands. Your weapons are primitive projectiles and nuclear devices. We possess antimatter cannons and quantum destabilizers. What possible resistance could you offer?" Keiko activated her holographic display again. "Perhaps you'd like to know about Operation Fortress, High Commander." The chamber fell silent. Something in the human ambassador's tone had shifted. The confidence wasn't mere bravado. It was the quiet assurance of someone holding a winning hand. "For the past 20 years, Keiko continued, while you observed our public space program, humanity has been preparing, not for exploration, not for trade, for war." The hologram expanded, showing the Sol system in unprecedented detail. Thousands of previously undetected installations appeared throughout the asteroid belt. Massive constructs emerged from beneath the ice of Europa and Enceladus. Energy signatures flared across the entire system. "Impossible," breathed Ambassador Thrix of the Altarian Collective. "These installations, they weren't there yesterday." "They were," Keiko replied calmly. "We've simply deactivated their cloaking systems. What you're seeing is humanity's true defensive capability. The asteroid defense network consists of 12,000 automated weapons platforms. Each carries enough firepower to destroy a capital ship." The Jektar delegation exchanged worried glances. Vorthan's primary heart began beating faster, a sign of agitation his species couldn't hide. Keiko continued her presentation. "The moons of Jupiter and Saturn hide our deep space fleet, not 40 ships, but 400. Each vessel employs technology we've reverse-engineered from derelict ships found in our outer system. Ships from wars you fought millennia ago and forgot about." The assembly erupted in chaos. Several species demanded to know how humanity had acquired such technology. Others questioned the legality of these preparations. Through it all, Keiko stood calmly at the podium. High Elder Silvar restored order with a harmonic pulse. "Ambassador Nakamura, surely you don't expect us to believe that a species which only recently achieved interstellar travel could construct such defenses in secret." "We don't expect you to believe it," Keiko replied. "We're counting on your disbelief. It served us well these past years. While you monitored our public shipyards, our real construction took place in the Oort cloud. While you intercepted our diplomatic transmissions, Our quantum-encrypted military channels remained hidden. She gestured, and the hologram zoomed in on Earth itself. A shimmering network of energy appeared around the planet. This is the Terran Shield Grid, a planetary defense system powered by fusion reactors buried deep in Earth's mantle. It can withstand bombardment from an entire fleet for months. Vorthin slammed his primary fist on the podium. Lies. Deception. No primitive species cold. We're not primitive, Keiko interrupted, her voice sharp as a blade. We're cautious. We studied your histories, learned your tactics, identified your weaknesses. Every species here made the same mistake. You announced yourselves to the galaxy as soon as you achieved faster-than-light travel. You painted targets on your homeworlds. The human ambassador's fingers danced across her control panel. New images appeared, schematics of Jektar vessels, with detailed annotations of their vulnerable points. We chose a different path, she continued. We watched. We learned. We prepared. Your antimatter cannons. We've developed countermeasures. Your quantum destabilizers. Our ships employ rotating phase shields specifically designed to negate them. The Altarian ambassador leaned forward. You speak of defenses, but what of your offensive capabilities? Keiko's smile turned cold. That brings us to the crown jewel of Operation Fortress, the Quantum Disruption Network. The hologram shifted to show a web of satellites positioned throughout the Sol system, each pulsed with an ominous red glow. These satellites can generate localized space-time distortions. Any vessel attempting to use FTL drive within our system will find their engines unreliable. Ships trying to enter our space will emerge in unpredictable locations, possibly inside our defensive perimeter, possibly light years off course. The implications hit the assembly like a physical force. Without reliable FTL travel, any invasion fleet would be forced to approach at sublight speeds, a journey of years instead of days. During that time, they'd be vulnerable to long-range attacks. Vorthin's scaled skin had paled to a sickly green. You're bluffing. No species has mastered such technology. Would you like a demonstration? Keiko asked quietly. We have a test scheduled in approximately. She glanced at her wrist display. 30 seconds. You might want to warn any ships you have in the outer rim of our system. The Jektar commander frantically activated his own communicator, barking orders in his native tongue. Around the chamber, other species did the same, warning their vessels to maintain distance from Sol. Keiko raised her hand, counting down on her fingers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The main view screen of the assembly chamber, which always displayed a real-time view of local space, suddenly flared with light. Where empty space had been moments before, a massive derelict ship appeared, a Vakari dreadnought lost centuries ago. We've been practicing, Keiko explained as gasps echoed through the chamber. That ship was drifting in deep space, 40 light-years from here. We used our quantum network to transport it instantaneously. Of course, living beings don't survive the process intact, but the message is clear. We control access to our space. High Elder Silvar's crystalline form flickered with distress. Ambassador Nakamura, this technology, it could destabilize the entire galaxy. The implications for trade, for travel, which is why we've kept it within our system, Keiko replied. We have no interest in galactic conquest. We simply refuse to be conquered. Any species that approaches Earth in peace will find us welcoming. Any that come with warships will find those ships transformed into expanding clouds of atoms. She turned to face Vorthin directly. High Commander, you have a choice. Withdraw your annexation claim and establish peaceful relations with humanity, or proceed with your invasion and discover firsthand why we call our defense system Operation Fortress. The Jektar delegation huddled in urgent conference. Around the chamber, other species reassessed humanity with newfound respect and fear. The primitive newcomers had just revealed themselves as potentially the most dangerous species in known space. After several minutes, Vorthin straightened. His voice, when he spoke, had lost its earlier arrogance. The Jektar Empire, withdraws its claim to the Sol system. We request diplomatic negotiations regarding trade agreements. Keiko nodded graciously. Earth welcomes the opportunity for peaceful cooperation. However, there is one more matter to address. She touched her communicator again. The hologram displayed a countdown timer. In 48 hours, the first phase of our quantum disruption network will activate permanently. Any vessel entering our system without proper authorization will be redirected. We suggest updating your navigation charts accordingly. The assembly chamber buzzed with a mixture of fear and admiration. The Saurian ambassador spoke up. And if we refuse to acknowledge your sovereignty, if the combined fleets of the galaxy move against you, Keiko's expression didn't change. Then you'll learn about Phase 2 of Operation Fortress. Trust me, you don't want to see Phase 2. She gathered her materials and prepared to leave the podium. Before departing, she turned back to the assembled representatives. Humanity has a saying: speak softly and carry a big stick. We've been speaking softly for 20 years. Today, you've seen our stick. We hope we never have to use it. As Ambassador Nakamura walked from the chamber, her footsteps echoed in the silence. Behind her, 200 civilizations grappled with a new reality. The galaxy's newest species had just become its most formidable power, not through conquest or intimidation, but through careful preparation and the willingness to defend their home at any cost. The age of humanity's isolation was over. The age of humanity's deterrence had begun. The revelation. High Commander Vorthen stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, as it approached the Sol system's outer boundary. Despite the Assembly's warning, the Jektar Military Council had demanded verification of humanity's claims. 36 warships, a mere scouting force by Jektar standards, accompanied him on this mission. Entering the designated boundary zone, reported his navigation officer. No signs of the alleged defense network, Commander. Vorthen's reptilian features twisted into what might have been satisfaction. As I suspected, the humans relied on theatrical tricks and holograms. Prepare to. The space around them suddenly writhed. Stars stretched into lines, then snapped back into points. The Dominator shuddered as if gripped by an invisible hand. Sir, the navigation officer's voice cracked with panic. Our position. We're 80 light years from where we should be. Before Vorthen could respond, a human face appeared on the main view screen. The man wore a military uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's Space Command. High Commander Vorthen, I'm Admiral Luis Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. I believe we warned you about unauthorized entry into our system. This is an act of war. Vorthen snarled. You've attacked Jektar vessels in neutral space. Rodriguez's expression remained calm. On the contrary, Commander, you attempted to enter our sovereign territory without permission. Our automated systems simply redirected you. Consider it a free demonstration of our quantum displacement technology. The journey back to your space should take about 6 months at maximum FTL. The view screen flickered, and another human appeared, a woman with short silver hair and piercing blue eyes. I'm Fleet Admiral Chen Weilin. While Admiral Rodriguez handles your diplomatic protests, perhaps you'd like to observe what happens when we take a more direct approach. The tactical display showed a second Jektar force, a full battle fleet of 200 ships, approaching Earth from a different vector. They had somehow avoided the quantum disruption field and were closing on humanity's homeworld. Your defenses have gaps, Vorthen observed with renewed confidence. My second fleet will reach Earth within hours. Admiral Chen smiled. Oh, that fleet. Yes, we've been monitoring them. They're about to encounter our nanoswarm defense system. Watch. The tactical display zoomed in on the approaching fleet. At first, nothing seemed amiss. Then, one by one, the Jektar ships began to slow. Their engine signatures flickered and died. What's happening? Vorthen demanded. Microscopic machines, Chen explained casually. We released them into our system's approach vectors years ago. They're programmed to identify non-authorized technology and, well, let's just say your ships are being disassembled at the molecular level. Don't worry, the process is painless. Your crews will have plenty of time to evacuate before their vessels cease to exist. The main screen split to show a close-up of a Jektar destroyer. Its hull seemed to shimmer, then began dissolving like sugar in rain. Within minutes, the mighty warship had been reduced to its component atoms, leaving only the crew in their emergency evacuation pods. Monstrous, whispered Vorthin's second-in-command. Effective, Chen corrected, and reversible. We can reassemble your ships once we've reached a diplomatic agreement. Think of it as an aggressive impound policy. A new alert sounded on the Dominator's bridge. Commander. Massive energy signatures detected. Ships decloaking throughout the system. The tactical display updated to show the true extent of Earth's hidden fleet. Hundreds of vessels appeared as if from nowhere, each one dwarfing the largest Jektar battleship. The human ships were angular, utilitarian designs that prioritized function over form. Every surface bristled with weapons that defied conventional classification. "Allow me to introduce the Titan class," Admiral Rodriguez said with evident pride. 4 kilometers long, armed with graviton projectors, antimatter torpedoes, and our latest innovation, the stellar converter cannon. One shot can trigger a localized nova reaction. We have 50 of them. Vorthin felt his scales changing color involuntarily, a Jektar fear response. No species builds weapons of such magnitude. The resources alone. We mine the Oort cloud, Chen explained. Automated factories have been running continuously for 2 decades. While you were watching our public shipyards produce merchant vessels, our war machine was building an arsenal capable of sterilizing star systems. The human admiral's casual discussion of apocalyptic weapons sent ripples of terror through the Jektar bridge crew. These weren't the boastful threats of a primitive species. This was the calm recitation of established facts. But here's the truly interesting part, Rodriguez continued. We don't want to use any of this. Every weapon, every defense system, every ship, they all exist for one purpose: to ensure we never have to use them. A third human appeared on the screen, a younger man with Asian features wearing civilian clothes. I'm Dr. James Yu, Earth's leading genopsychologist. We've studied your species, Commander. The Jektar respect strength but understand pragmatism. So let's be pragmatic. The tactical display changed again, showing trade routes throughout the galaxy. Earth sits at a strategic location. Rather than fight over it, why not benefit from it? We're prepared to offer the Jektar Empire exclusive trading rights for certain human technologies. Imagine your merchant fleets equipped with our quantum drives. You'd dominate galactic commerce within a decade. Vorthin's primary brain processed this information, while his secondary brain screened warnings. You would share military technology with potential enemies. Selected defensive technologies, Chen clarified. Nothing that could be used against us, but enough to give you significant advantages over your rivals. We've noticed the Saurian Collective has been encroaching on your border colonies. Our shield generators would make those colonies impregnable. The offer was intoxicating. Vorthin could see his species' position in the galaxy strengthening immeasurably. But doubt gnawed at him. Why reveal your capabilities at all? Why not simply annihilate any threats? Dr. Yu leaned forward. Because we've studied our own history, Commander. Every empire that ruled through fear eventually fell. We choose a different path. Earth offers partnership, not domination. Trade, not tribute. Security, not submission. The bridge of the Dominator fell silent as Vorthin considered. His military pride demanded resistance, but his duty to his species required wisdom. The humans had demonstrated overwhelming superiority. Fighting them would be suicide. I require proof, he said finally. Words and holograms can deceive. Show me the reality of your power. Admiral Chen nodded. A reasonable request. Observe the third planet in the Centauri system, an uninhabited rock your surveys marked as worthless. We've designated it for weapons testing. The main screen shifted to show a barren world orbiting a distant star. One of Earth's Titan-class ships moved into position. A weapon port on its bow began to glow with impossible brightness. "Stellar converter charging," Chen reported clinically. "Target locked. Firing." A beam of pure white energy lanced out from the human ship. When it struck the planet's surface, the result defied comprehension. The beam didn't just destroy, it transformed. The planet's core began to undergo fusion reactions. Within seconds, the dead world had become a miniature star, burning with nuclear fire. "The reaction is self-limiting," Chen explained as Vorthen and his crew watched in horrified fascination. "In about 30 minutes, it will burn out, leaving a cloud of heavy elements. Useful for mining operations, actually. We can create or destroy at will." The demonstration had its intended effect. Every Jektar on the bridge understood that such a weapon, used against an inhabited world, would mean the end of all life in seconds. There would be no evacuation, no survival, just instant stellar annihilation. "Enough," Vorthen said quietly. "I've seen enough. The Jektar Empire formally requests diplomatic relations with Earth. We withdraw all claims to your system and acknowledge humanity's territorial sovereignty." Admiral Rodriguez smiled warmly. "Excellent choice, Commander. Ambassador Nakamura is standing by to discuss trade agreements. I think you'll find our terms quite generous." As negotiations began, Vorthen found himself reassessing everything he thought he knew about humanity. They had spent 2 decades preparing not just defenses, but a comprehensive strategy for their place in the galaxy. Every scenario had been considered, every response planned. "One question," he said as the discussions wound down. "You mentioned Phase 2 of Operation Fortress. What we've seen today, was this Phase 2? The human admirals exchanged glances. Chen spoke carefully. "No, Commander. This was still Phase 1. The deterrent phase. Phase 2 is something else entirely." "And Phase 3? Vorthen asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Rodriguez's expression grew somber. "There is no Phase 3, Commander. If we're forced to implement Phase 2, there won't be anyone left to need a Phase 3. The implication sent ice through Vorthen's veins. Whatever horrors humanity had prepared for Phase 2, they exceeded even the stellar converters and quantum weapons he'd witnessed. The message was clear. Earth had prepared for every possibility, including the unthinkable. As the Dominator departed human space under escort, its crew carried news that would reshape galactic politics forever. Humanity hadn't just revealed advanced weapons, they had demonstrated a level of strategic planning that surpassed species with millennia of experience. Back on Earth, in a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the real architects of Operation Fortress watched the Jektar fleet depart. General Patricia Morrison, Earth's Supreme Defense Coordinator, turned to her staff. "Stage 1 complete. The galaxy knows we can defend ourselves. Begin preparations for Stage 2, the integration protocol. It's time to move from isolation to influence." Her aide, Colonel David Park, nodded. "And the technologies we demonstrated, how much was real?" Morrison smiled, the same cold smile Ambassador Nakamura had worn in the assembly. "Enough to be credible. The quantum disruption network is fully operational. The nanoswarms exist, though not in the quantities we implied. The Titans are real, but we only have 12, not 50. And the stellar converter. A precisely controlled antimatter explosion combined with some creative holography. Impressive, but hardly star-destroying. The Jektars saw what we wanted them to see." Colonel Park frowned. "Isn't this deception dangerous? When they discover the truth, they won't," Morrison replied confidently. "Because by then, we'll have made the lie into reality. Every technology we demonstrated today is theoretically possible. We just need time to build it. Time that our demonstration just bought us." She activated a wall display showing construction projects throughout the solar system. "The galaxy now believes we're already invincible. That belief gives us a decade, maybe 2, to actually become invincible. By the time anyone realizes we bluffed, it won't be a bluff anymore. The bunker's lights dimmed as Earth's war machine continued its work. In shipyards hidden throughout the system, new titans took shape. In research facilities, scientists worked to make the impossible real. In training centers, humans learned to crew vessels that existed only in blueprints. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not with conquest or submission, but with the promise of devastating retaliation against any threat. The message was clear. Earth stood ready to be friend or foe, trade partner or destroyer of worlds. The choice belonged to others. As news of the demonstration spread throughout known space, reactions varied wildly. Some species immediately sought alliance with Earth. Others began their own military buildups. A few contemplated preemptive strikes before humanity grew even stronger. But all understood one fundamental truth. The age of humanity's quiet observation had ended. The galaxy's newest player had revealed itself as perhaps its most dangerous, not through aggression, but through preparation so thorough it bordered on paranoia. In the depths of space, automated human probes continued their silent vigil. Defense satellites maintained their orbits. Hidden weapons platforms waited for activation codes. The fortress stood ready, its message echoing across the stars. Humanity is locked, loaded, and waiting. The next move belongs to you. Choose wisely.